Okay. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Tap the screen, tap the screen, tap the screen, people. Tap the screen, please. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning. I have something here from Annie Elise. It's, it's not really that much, but it's a little bit. Here we go.
If you eat yogurt or dairy food regularly, this is what may be happening inside the tiny vessels behind your eyes. Look at these two retina images. Both look clear and healthy, but only one belongs to someone.
I like how they try to make it enjoyable. I don't even I don't want to enjoy life there, but it's just sad. I don't know. There's a reasonable
named as a suspect in his millionaire father's death, Jonathan Andy was arrested Tuesday and taken to a Spanish court. That was influencer Gabby Gonzalez giving advice about men days before her arrest for a conspiracy to murder the father of her child. He's taking time out from socials because of all the trolling, the media frenzy.
Hey True Crime Besties, welcome back to an all-new episode of Seriously.
Give me something to drink. I'll be back.
Hello, and welcome back to an all-new episode of Seriously with me, your host and your True Crime Bestie, tapping in for duty, Annie Elise. Hope you guys are all having a great week so far. Maybe you had a long weekend because of Memorial Day. I don't know. Maybe you had to work on Monday anyway, which that's ass if you did. I'm sorry. But welcome back. Hello. Happy to have you. This week has already been jam-packed with a lot of stuff going on. Monday, I dropped an episode, which maybe you listened to it Tuesday if you weren't driving to work on Monday. I don't know. But it's a wild one. If you haven't, you need to go listen. It's about 16-year-old Kayla Huff. She was murdered, allegedly by her ex-boyfriend, his half-sister, and a collection of 4 or 5 of their friends. They all plotted and schemed against her. And the motive was apparently because she walked in on her boyfriend having sex with his half-sister. Not stepsister, half-sister. There's a lot of details with the whole plot of going to the house at 3 in the morning, what they did to dismantle her car, where they lured her, there's surveillance footage, there's a lot. So that episode did release on Monday. Be warned, it is diabolical. And then on Tuesday, on the 10 to Life feed, which is my second true crime podcast, released an episode about Sierra Joggin. I covered this case for the very first time probably 4 years ago now, and it still to this day is one of the most horrific cases that I've covered. It's this fetish barn in the middle of nowhere that has all of these disgusting sex toys, this perverted guy. It's very, very unsettling. So those cases are on the feed right now between the 2 feeds. You can go listen. But today we have other cases to talk about. Some new cases, some updates in cases, and just a lot going on. And so I'm going to just jump right into it without giving some big introduction, without trying to trick you and pretend you don't know who's here when you really do here, because I'm back. You're back. Hello. Scary. I know. I had to do some sort of jump scare. I just didn't know how. Okay, well, it's scary. And we are about to leave on a jet plane to go to CrimeCon. Yes. Today. CrimeCon starts tomorrow. I'm not going to say. It starts tomorrow, all weekend in Vegas. Here we go. I'm looking forward to it. I am too. It's going to be really good, and there's a lot of great people going, a lot of great families going. It's going to be, I feel like, as lame as this phrase may be, it always fills my cup. Okay, but it does. It does. When I leave there, I feel like I'm reminded of the important work you do and what our team does, and it does let's get a new phrase, but it does fill our cups. Okay, but I agree with you.
What does Vicky Gunvalson say? It fills my love tank.
That's how much she says.
I remember from the OG season 1.
I don't even remember that.
Wow, I stumped you with Bravo trivia.
You did. I don't think I ever watched the early seasons. I know.
The Family
I know
Van.
the Family Van because of the meme, but that's about it. Yes, so CrimeCon this weekend, and we will be doing some Patreon-only content from there. So now, if you've been on the fence about joining, now is the time to join because there's going to be a lot of not only exclusive content, but behind-the-scenes content and videos and stuff like that. So that's patreon.com/AnnieElise. I was thinking yesterday, too, that's what I was going to do. Damn it, what a missed opportunity. I was going to introduce you by singing the song from The Hangover, because I know it by heart, the 1, 2 tigers, and like it's like, maybe I won't.
And maybe on our return back.
Maybe. We'll see. Okay, so let's start jumping into the cases that we've got today. And I want to start with the name on everybody's lips, not Roxy Hart, Mackenzie Shirilla. Now, we released on this feed 2 episodes last week, a deep dive last Monday, going through the whole case, not only what Netflix, of course, left out, but like the entire case as a whole, body cam footage, interrogation footage, jail calls, back history of Mackenzie, all sorts of different things. And it was like this mega deep dive. Then, of course, after watching The Crash on Netflix, I was like, there's even more that Netflix didn't bring into it. And it's not Netflix's fault because a lot of the times what happens with these documentaries, and the only reason I know this is because, like, working behind the scenes a little bit, it's not Netflix who outright produces these and, like, puts the storyboard together. It's usually third parties who then sell it to Netflix. So even though I know Netflix is, like, catching strays on here, which they don't deserve, it's not really their fault because they may not know how much was left out. But my point is there were a lot of things left out, such as her time, doing sex work, which obviously doesn't necessarily matter and it's not important to the crash, but there was some friction between her and Dom already because he discovered that and he was upset, and just leading up to the crash too, they were having arguments about it via text message. There are things left out about the parents trying to quiet down the friends so that they don't share information. There's a point in which the dad tells the sergeant, and it's right there in the police report in black and white, that Mackenzie did do this intentionally, and that was when she was getting super combative trying to leave the hospital, so much so that they had to call the police into the hospital. I mean, a lot of things that I think illustrate a lot about her character as a person. Even if people came out of this coming, kind of on the fence of, could this have been an accident? Could this have been a medical emergency? Could this have been anything else? I think all of this will give you context and show you absolutely not. This is a spoiled, entitled little child who is fully enabled by her parents. And so in that second part 2 episode, I talked about not only her bad behavior, but the parents' bad behavior and like the things that were left out. So now, I don't know, is the right expression dovetailing in? Is that what I'm doing? Like a segue into this first case is I want to talk about these jail calls. You may have seen some of them floating around. We've talked about a couple of them in the past, but there are a few that really stand out to me that I want to share with you while everybody is, in this Mackenzie Shirilla black hole. Because there also have been some newly released calls. And some of the things being said in these calls have left not only myself completely shocked, but a lot of people completely shocked. Flabbergasted, if you will. Now, here's the quick refresher in case you did not watch The Crash on Netflix and you are not familiar with the case. Mackenzie was convicted in 2023 of intentionally crashing her car at around 100 miles per hour. She crashed it into a brick building and she killed not only her boyfriend Dom, but their friend Davion. Prosecutors argued that this was completely intentional, that it was possibly intended to be a murder. Maybe Dom was breaking up with her, maybe they were arguing, she had driven recklessly like this in the past and had also threatened to crash the vehicle in the past. So ultimately she was sentenced to 2 concurrent sentences of 15 years to life, meaning she will serve both of them side by side at the same time, okay? Now fast forward to these newly released jail calls, and one of the biggest things that people are reacting to is the way that Mackenzie talks about herself in all of this. How she continues to be saying that she's going to have to ask somebody else to carry her baby for her because she's going to be so old. Again, only prioritizing herself, thinking about herself, which is fair. I'm sure that, like, when you're in jail, you're thinking through what life could have been like, what you wish it would have been like, and, like, some certain realizations are setting in. But this one is extremely unsettling to a lot of people because we know Dom and Davion, they don't ever have the opportunity of growing old at all. She stripped that away from them. But also, she was sentenced to 15 years to life concurrently, meaning side-by-side sentences. So she was 17 or 18, whatever, when she went in. That means she'll be out around, what, 33, 34 years old? It's hardly saying you're going to be, like, ancient or some 70-year-old when you get released. You have your whole life ahead of you still. And it just feels very, like, reasonable.
Self-serving.
Right? She just, this chick pisses me off. She also complained in another part of the call that she, quote, doesn't want to live here with these people, referring to the other inmates, calling them murderers, kidnappers, which, again, people had a very strong reaction to this, myself included, considering Mackenzie herself has been convicted of murder. So she's acting as though she isn't, around similar company, and that they're not all, like, it's going to be the wrong analogy, but, like, not different strokes. Like, what am I looking for? Like, same folks, same strokes. Like, you're all in there for a reason. You're all bad, right? Which don't. I know somebody in the comments is going to say, well, there's actually, like, the 8%, like, wrongfully accused, which I'm not talking about that, okay? So then there's this whole other aspect to it. This social media piece, this celebrity obsession piece. Because if you remember, there was already a lot of criticism after Mackenzie crashed that car because her mom was so hyper-focused on getting her signed to modeling agencies, still working her social media, commenting back to brands, while Mackenzie was in the hospital. Like, that was their priority. What was the social media spin going to be? Could we use this now as leverage to get her signed by an agency? Let's secure brand deals as soon as we can, which is, like, so freaking gross in and of itself. But that mentality has not gone away because in another reported jail call, Mackenzie talked about wanting Kim Kardashian to become her lawyer, which, not for nothing, and no shade to Kim, I know that the bar is very difficult to pass, but she's not a lawyer. She's failed the bar, I think, 3 times now. So the person on the phone, who hasn't been named at this point, says, we're going to have her get you out. And I think that's also because Kim does a lot of work alongside the Innocence Projects and different things like that, trying to get wrongfully accused people out of prison. But Mackenzie responded to that by saying, tell her I buy Skims all the time and I only wear Skims, as if that's going to make Kim a billionaire. Be like, oh my gosh, she buys Skims? Let me totally go work her case and try to get her released. But again, Mackenzie doesn't have a brain that is fully developed, or even halfway developed, in my opinion. But take a listen.
This album, maybe Kim Kardashian thing. And I was like, oh, yeah, maybe Kim will now that it's, like, all over. I was like, I mean, that's the only thing that might be good about the whole media thing. Maybe Kim will see it. I don't know. You have to figure it out because I'm really nervous and I want Kim Kardashian to be my lawyer. Yeah. You know what you guys can look at? I could be a lawyer, bro. I wish I was. Kim Kardashian is fascinating Lord. She's a lawyer. Yeah, bro. Innocent people out of jail. All the time. And it works hard. We're going to have this move out. Who is Miss Kimberly? We're going to have her get you out. I will tell her I thought I owe her Skims, but I only wear Skims. So, you too. Yeah, literally.
So again, the idea that wearing somebody else's shapewear brand somehow equates to them having or should rescue you from prison for murder, it's just so far detached from reality. And the fact that she doesn't understand this is bizarre to me. And it gets even worse. Some of the comments that are getting the biggest backlash right now are the ones where Mackenzie refers to herself as the third victim in the crash. Now this call, if this one happened before her sentencing, when she was talking to her mom about her attorneys not wanting her to testify during the trial, which, personally, they were very wise for that. Getting her on the stand, I don't think that would have been favorable to her at all. But Mackenzie said that she felt like if people could just, quote, see the truth, then they would realize that it was, quote, nothing but a car accident. And then she said, they'll see that there's a third victim, and it's me. She also went on to say that she lost the love of her life and also a good friend, which which I find that kind of ironic considering her mom literally said during her statement that Davion was a new friend, which the judge ripped her a new asshole for, rightfully so. But she had said, like, now that she has to live with the grief and fear of driving for the rest of her life. Like, oh, I'm sorry, after this double fatality crash, now you're left with the fear of driving? Like, that's what your priority is? Again, just zero remorse in my opinion and no accountability. But once again, take a listen.
I'm saying an appeal takes like a year. Yeah, no, I hear you. So I'll be sitting in jail for a year before my appeal is even maybe seen. You can't go there. Please just don't go there. Just live it right now, okay? I mean, I hope the truth is for real. If they see the truth and they'll know that this was nothing but a car accident. They'll just see that I've been a third victim and it's me, and I lost the love of my life and a good friend, and now I have to deal with this grief the rest of my life and deal with like being scared to drive and stuff. Like, that's just like.
Nature offers professional grade products, easy reordering online, and 24/7 support, helping procurement managers keep buildings running so people can keep working. Call, click, or stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
On the U.S. Civil Rights Trail podcast, experts take us inside the pivotal events that shaped the movement. Listen to the U.S. Civil Rights Trail podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts.
Come on.
Because what happened here changed the world.
Now look, obviously trauma after a car crash is very real. I think depending on the circumstances, depending on who's lost, who's injured, what happens, you're left reeling from that. And everybody's going to cope in different ways. But calling yourself a victim after being convicted of intentionally causing the crash that killed 2 people, it just is unbelievably tone deaf. And somehow the phone calls with her friends got even worse. At one point, her mom passes the phone around to several of Mackenzie's friends, and one friend tells her that Dominic is now her guardian angel. Another friend says that Dominic is, quote, probably watching over her and mad that all these people are doing this to her. Which, this is the person you were convicted of murdering. Saying that he is now advocating for you and on your side, it's just like, it feels like such a slap in the face to the families who are grieving their loved ones, because she's once again centering everything around her. Her whole world revolves around herself. We've even heard from cellmates now who have spoken out that she's trying to be Regina George in prison. She's like making out with people as he's all over her body. She like is a mean girl. All of these different things. It doesn't appear as though she's grown up at all, which doesn't really surprise me, because going into this pre-car crash, she thought she owned the world. She had boatloads of money from not only Dom, but from what she was doing as well, which I go into more of that on that episode last week. Her parents never told her no. They enabled her through and through. So much so that I even talk about this too in the episode. There were multiple times in the hospital, which is all documented in the police report, when you could just tell that Mackenzie runs the show. Her parents would be in the room with her. A police officer would come in and she would yell at her parents saying, "Don't talk to them without me here. I need to know what's going on." Like, then one of the cops brought like $162 that they had recovered from her purse or from the vehicle or whatever, and like gave it to her mom, being like, "Hey, we got this from the vehicle," or "This was on her, maybe in her pocket," or whatever it was, but basically passing the cash to her mom. And Mackenzie like, "You better put that in my fucking purse right now." She's the one who ran the show. And it also it's interesting, the cellmate described her as Regina George, and now that I think about it, it reminds me of that scene in Mean Girls where Regina brings all the girls over to her house and she goes into the primary bedroom and she's all, and Lindsay Lyons, like, you know what I'm talking about? She's like, "This is such a nice room." She's all, "Thanks, it was my parents, but I made them switch it in." Like, that's Mackenzie. That's also empty. That is also empty. No, honestly, you're right. That is also empty. I was gonna say, but Emmy doesn't have a mean bone in her body, but she's got more than one. She's got looks that disagree, right where you stand. So yeah, I don't know. This is just like, it's very upsetting, and basically the entire thing has just started another major conversation about accountability and remorse, and whether or not she truly understands the severity of what happened that night. Because based on the way that she's acting and some of the things that she said, it doesn't seem like it. And when her parole hearing comes up in, however many years, 10 years from now, or whenever it is, I can't imagine that they I will grant her parole and grant her release if she does not take some sort of accountability. If she still is saying it was a medical incident, it was this, it was that, I don't remember, I think that she's not doing herself any favors, and I think she'll continue to be locked up. That's my personal opinion. So, like, where's the accountability? When will it show its face? Will it ever show its face? And while we're talking about this really quick too, I want to clarify something from that past episode. I have been talking with Dom's sister, Christine, and more to come on that in the future. But I did want to set the record straight on one thing. I had mentioned that the blood sample that was taken at the ER was discarded at the order of the physician, which was in fact true. However, apparently there was another blood sample that was taken from the life flight or flight life or whatever it is from the night or the morning of the crash, and that one was tested. Now, if they performed all of the testing for the mushrooms, the acid, all that, or just the baseline which showed THC, who knows? But I wanted to just correct that piece of information after I spoke with the Dom's sister. And like I said, more to come on that conversation. What do you think of the
Well, so I have a lot of thoughts. I mean, just as a quick note, I've talked to quite a few people since who, obviously knowing what I do and working with you, oh, did you watch the crash? What are your thoughts? And most people I talk to have not known any other information outside of the crash. And most people who watch the crash have that hint of doubt that maybe there's some other explanation for it, to which I always refer to your episodes and say, not so fast. But my thought is she having all these realizations and these like aha moments of, I'm in here with these people that aren't like me and all these things because she actually never pictured herself going to prison, not because she thought she'd be found not guilty, but because she intended to take her own life with theirs. If you're in the camp that believes that she rehearsed this, thought about it, had this plan for the next time she wanted to execute it, did she think she was going to live to go through this?
I don't think that she ever thought that she was going to live, but I have seen people say she never wore a seatbelt and that she did wear a seatbelt that morning. I don't know, to me, that that's indicative enough to say one way or another, but I can't imagine that she intended to live because in all of the previous threats that she made, she would say, like, I'm going to crash this car and, like, kill us both and do this. Like, I think it was a fluke, and I think that when she realized she survived,
her being alive is only by the grace of God.
Because she couldn't say that she intended to kill all of them because then, like, that's intentional, right? That'd be like first degree charge at that point. And she was trying to get away with, reckless or manslaughter, whatever it was. And so
in some ways, this is kind of the best punishment for her because she never envisioned a punishment. She didn't think she was going to have to suffer a consequence. But I also now she's in this place that she probably never envisioned herself, and I hope she stays there forever because she doesn't have any remorse. And we've heard so many accounts from other people saying that. So her yes.
I also think so, like,
miserably in there.
I think she's kind of a narcissist, not kind of, I think she is a narcissist to the degree of, not even that she didn't envision herself in there, but I think that she truly feels like she doesn't belong there and that she's above everybody else and has, like, maybe even talked herself into the fact that she is a victim in all of this somehow. And, like, I truly don't think that she has grasped the reality, and I think a lot of that has to do with her parents and her upbringing and what she, and, like,
the enabling.
Yeah, just along the whole way. She got whatever she wanted. She used her body, her looks to do whatever, which fine, do you, like, no shame on sex work at all, but, like, the relationship was so toxic that, like, what she did, she just thought that she was untouchable. She would post videos pre-crash on Snapchat while driving of her going 95 miles
Taking
per hour.
long rips.
Yeah.
When I saw that, I was like, it's one thing to smoke weed recreationally and your parents, I'm not saying it's okay to be okay with it, but if they're like, hey, she does this, I'd rather her do this under supervision. But when she's on camera driving behind, I mean, that was infuriating to watch.
I know. I think she thought and currently thinks that she is untouchable and that she is above everybody else. And it's weird, too, because you kind of saw that a little bit in the documentary, like, her friends so far weaseled up her ass, like Rosie, like, and that was weird. Which I'm like, dude, crush on her, like, what is happening?
Well, and it would be one thing if it truly, there wasn't so much evidence supporting that this allegedly was premeditated and that this was a complete accident. If that was the case, then some of the comments about he's my guardian angel or he's
probably looking down like, how could this be happening? Those wouldn't be as weird to hear, but given the scenario, I mean, yeah. And a lot of people do think that it was premeditated, not in that split second of her making the decision, but because there was evidence found, which Netflix also did not include, in her GPS history that she did what they called a dry run. Yes. 3 days before, where she would never need to be in that neighborhood. It wasn't anywhere near her house. So people are like, oh, she scouted the area and then she did it, which absolutely possible. It very well could be. I think it was more of a split decision. I like it just in that moment, because you see her tooth also like round the corner very carefully, very slowly. And I said this in my episode, it's difficult to decipher from the surveillance footage, but when you're looking at her car taking the corner before she hits the gas, there's a lot of reflections from the streetlights, but it looks like Dom, who is in the passenger seat, has his phone on. It looks like it's lit up. So part of me was like, was she asking him who he was texting, what he was doing? Was he saying,
Was he trying to call for help?
Exactly, or was he saying, like, finally breaking up with her? Because they had been having a lot of issues up until this point. Not only the thing that happened 2 weeks prior where she threatened to crash the car, but the discovery of her, like, letting that guy have sex with her fee for money. And, again, all of this is in the episode, guys. And so, like, is that what triggered it? Because he was doing something, and she's like, and then, because she was so calm before that, and then just floored him.
But what triggered them to leave the house early in the morning rather than they were all over there for the supper party to do something the following day?
Yeah.
By all accounts that we heard on the Netflix doc, which obviously some things are missing, was that he was stroking her hair, they were laying down, lovey-dovey all night, and then the next thing we know, they're driving home early in the morning. So was it a fight at the house?
I think it probably was something that stemmed at Paul's house only because she fell asleep. When Paul came downstairs to get water, she was asleep. All the other friends were awake. I could see her waking up, and this is just me speculating, guys, but I could see her waking up and being like, why are you asleep too? Like, you know, like when you would get mad, is it like when you're a kid, it's so stupid, you're like, why are you up? Why are you partying with your friends? Like, why are you asleep when I'm asleep? Like, it happens.
Or she went through his phone or something?
I don't know, like something to where they're, and then like Davion unfortunately gets in the car with them. I've also seen a lot of allegations, and like I said, I've been talking with Dom's sister, more to come on this in the near future, so make sure you're following. But I have seen people say she didn't like the friendship that Davion and Dom had. She felt threatened by it because Davion was also encouraging Dom to like look after himself, and just very toxic. So I think she sucks. I think she definitely did this intentionally, has no remorse, and
She's where she belongs, and I think she survived for a reason, so she could suffer the consequences, because had she died in that crash as well, who knows if they would have done an investigation. I mean, I'm sure they would have, but like,
she wouldn't have
been
been
able to pay for that or face the families.
right,
So,
and have like true accountability. But can you like going back to that comment she made about her being too old when she gets out? I get it, she's young, but she's not so young that she can't grasp the reality that like if you're released at 33 or 34 years old, you have your whole life ahead of you, and you just took the lives of two young men who had their whole lives ahead of you. So
Yeah.
you're gonna be bitching and complaining, being like, I'm gonna have somebody else carry my baby. I'm gonna be so old when I was so.
she has no self-awareness
None.
whatsoever.
None. Hate her.
And her parents did not assist with that.
No.
I mean, they
could
share equally.
They are the worst.
Yeah.
The worst. The worst.
All right.
Speaking of the worst. So speaking of Alpine horse now.
Speaking of horrible children,
Yes.
all right, so I want to talk about this next case that's absolutely wild, involving the death of Isaac Andick, the billionaire founder of Mango Clothing, because what was originally believed to be just this tragic hiking accident is now turning into a full-blown homicide investigation involving his own son. Back on December 14th, 2024, Isaac died after falling more than 500 feet down a steep, rocky cliff in the Montserrat mountain range outside of Barcelona, Spain. And his son Jonathan was the only witness there that day. Jonathan initially told police that they were hiking and that he had been walking ahead of his dad when he suddenly heard rocks falling behind him. And that's when he turned around and realized his father had fallen off the cliff. And at the time, authorities treated it as a horrible accident, and the case was officially closed just 1 month after and labeled an accidental death. But then things quietly started changing behind the scenes. A few weeks after the case was closed, Jonathan was reportedly questioned again for about 3 hours, and investigators noticed inconsistencies in his actually been much closer together during the hike than he had originally claimed. They were, in fact, almost side by side. And then in March 2025, Spanish investigators asked the court to reopen the case. Specialized cybercrime units allegedly began digging through phone data, GPS metadata, cell tower pings, timestamps, basically investigating anything and everything they could to piece together the entire timeline surrounding Izak's death. And according to reports coming out now, investigators started finding things that didn't line up with Jonathan's version of events. For one, investigators believe that the kind of slip and fall that Jonathan described would have been very unlikely in the exact location where Izak fell. They also allegedly found a footprint near the edge that they said wasn't consistent with someone accidentally slipping. And then the forensic findings raised even more questions because reports claimed Izak's injuries and body position looked less like a random fall and more as if he had launched himself down a slide feet first. There were also issues with Jonathan's statements about his dad's phone. Jonathan allegedly told police that Izak had been taking photos just moments before the fall, but when Izak's body was recovered, the phone was reportedly still inside his pocket. And then there's the digital evidence that investigators were focusing on. Phone records allegedly showed that Jonathan had visited the exact site of the fall 3 separate times in the week before his father died, on December 7th, 8th, and 10th, which obviously that looks extremely suspicious. And then around the same time that reports started saying the investigation had been reopened, Jonathan's own phone suddenly disappeared, and he had later told investigators that it had been stolen during a trip to Ecuador. What do you think? No, just a coincidence?
Okay, the fact that he went 3 separate times to this hiking trail the week before his father slipped and fell. Then when they reopened the case, his phone
Where'd my phone
suddenly
go?
stolen. Where'd my phone go? Where is
Got stolen, yes.
Yeah, like, bro.
No, I know. No. So as this investigation started to get more and more in depth, by late 2025, Jonathan's status had officially changed from witness to homicide suspect. His sisters and uncle were also questioned as investigators looked deeper into their family dynamics, their inheritance issues, and the future control of Mango after Izak's death. And honestly, one of the biggest things investigators and people in general seem to be focusing on is the relationship between Jonathan and his father Izak. According to court records, investigators believe there had been growing tension between Izak and Jonathan, especially because Izak reportedly wanted to start a charity, which investigators say may have changed who would have gotten what when it came to an inheritance. Investigators even alleged that Jonathan was, quote, obsessed with money, saying that Izak supposedly felt pressured to give him parts of the inheritance early just to keep their relationship. One court document even claimed that Jonathan had expressed feelings of resentment, hatred, blame, and ideas surrounding death toward his dad. But Jonathan has denied all of this and said that their relationship was in fact really good. Then on May 19th of this year, after nearly a year-long investigation, Jonathan was officially arrested in Barcelona. Prosecutors wanted Jonathan held in jail while the investigation continued, but the judge ultimately granted him a €1 million bail, which is equivalent to about 1.16 million US dollars, with the conditions being that he had to turn over his passport, cannot travel anywhere, and has to do weekly court check-ins. And as expected, Jonathan posted bail that same day and was released. Then Jonathan wrote a letter to the staff at Mango that called the allegations, quote, the most serious and unfounded accusation a person can face, and said that he would be stepping down as vice chair of the company so that he could focus on dismantling the narrative that had been created about him. And now, even through everything that has come out publicly, the entire Andic family is publicly standing by him. In a statement, the family said, there does not exist, nor will there exist, legitimate evidence against him. So this case that looked like an extremely tragic hiking accident involving one of the most richest and powerful businessmen in Spain has now completely transformed into a murder investigation involving his own son. So we'll keep our eyes on this one and keep you updated as we learn more, but I know that it's been in the news quite a bit and we've had a lot of questions about it.
Yeah, I had read somewhere, and I don't know the accuracy of it, but something where the dad had retired and he passed the reins to his son, and his son was like, I don't know, not in debt, but like made a business decision that cost the company like I want to say $160 million or something like that. So much so that the dad like had tried to throw him a bone to be like, okay, you're the successor, like take the reins. Then he had to come out of retirement and basically fix all of those issues. And I think you had said too, like how at one point the dad was going to give him some of the inheritance early just to maintain that relationship, like almost just appease him. So it seems as though like, and I don't really know, but like based on what I had read and what you had shared, I think this kid, or not this kid, but this guy like has no real qualifications to be a businessman, no less running this massive company, Mango, which Mango I'm pretty sure is part of Inditex, which if it is, Inditex, and I know this just from my fashion days, owns Zara, Bershka, Pull & Bear, like all the things, and it's based out of Spain. I actually toured their factories once, it was pretty insane. But, and I think Mango's part of it, I can't remember. But anyway, I think that it's like, yeah, he thought that he was entitled, he was going to be the next one stepping into his dad's shoes.
You know, it's giving Nick Reiner.
Yes.
Like, entitled son who thinks he's deserving, he's underqualified.
But there was also a lot of mental health with that.
Yes, but just from the entitlement and like the appeasing and like giving opportunities to try to let them forge their own way.
Yeah.
And then
your hatred is like targeted at them rather than your own shortcomings.
Well, especially if it sounds like he's trying to lead this charitable endeavor, and that's going to take away from what's his.
Right.
And he's feeling threatened by that.
Yeah, and I mean, to do a walkthrough 3 different times the week before, you're obviously scouting locations for where you're going to, in my opinion, you know, push him and make the plan come to life. It's not innocent by any means. And I think the family standing behind him, that doesn't surprise me at all, because if it's a successful, huge family, they don't want their legacy being tarnished. They are going to stand by him. Hello, even look at the royals. That's a perfect example. But yeah, Prince Charles, or King Charles, I should say now, has like spoken out about Prince Andrew being like, we want the court to like, you know, we want it to run its course and do their due diligence, but like nobody's outright saying, yeah, exactly. So that doesn't really make me sway one way or another. And it's giving, we talked about Alpine divorce, which is the new term of like when spouses take their partner on a hike, or like Brian Hooker on the water on a boat, and like that's where the mysterious person, like he goes overboard or you fall off the cliff and like they die, and then you don't have to go through an actual divorce, it's an Alpine divorce. It's giving like Alpine inheritance.
I know.
You know? That's so sad.
I run on 3 things: coffee, chaos, and soup.
Alright, so if you're anything like me and you're constantly trying to hit your protein goals, because that's what I'm trying to do right now, like I've been in my protein era for literally months now, because I think I just realized how important protein is, especially if you're trying to like maintain weight or lose weight or all of that, and you're also running around nonstop all day and you don't have time to like, I don't know, eat a pork chop. I need to tell you about David Protein, because I have been reaching for these constantly lately.
Tap the screen, please.
Taste like chalky,
Please tap the screen.
Sugar, or suddenly you realize that you basically just ate an entire meal in calories.
Tap the screen, please.
Their gold
Please
bars
tap the
have
screen.
28 grams of protein and only 150 calories, plus 0 grams of sugar, which honestly is kind of insane for how good they taste. The texture is actually very soft, super doughy, so instead of tasting like cardboard, it tastes like a yummy little like treat. Which honestly, that statement alone, I mean, unbelievable, right? So investigators allege that in April of 2021, Francisco and Gabby brought Gabby's then boyfriend Kai into this situation and brought him in as a middleman, all to allegedly help locate and hire someone to then kill her ex Jack. And not just like find someone on the street, but use the dark web to source somebody. Authorities say their dad Francisco allegedly bankrolled the entire thing as well, this entire plot and scheme. He sent Kai about $10,000 so that he could then find someone and pay someone on the dark web for this hit. And the payment that he transferred him was labeled as being for, quote, web development services. I guess that was like a half-truth, maybe, like hidden a little bit, but also in plain sight because it was web-based. I don't know. Then in June of 2021, Francisco sent Kai another $4,000. and this was going to be used to hire a quote expert hitman. So prosecutors say that the group together, collectively, spent months after this having heavily coded conversations about Bitcoin payments, also about verifying the target and deciding how the murder would allegedly be carried out. And then somehow these details got even darker, like they do when you're involved in the dark web, okay? Prosecutors say that Gabby and her co-conspirators wanted proof that Jack had actually been killed. They specifically asked for a severed pinky finger as confirmation. Now, whether that was to serve as strictly confirmation or as some sort of trophy, who the hell really knows? But obviously, they were very serious about this plan, right? Authorities also claim that her dad wanted Jack's death staged so that it would look like an accident, specifically a deadly car accident, which people are especially focused on this detail because Francisco is apparently a longtime personal injury attorney. So a lot of people are now looking at the allegation and wondering if there could have been some sort of deeper meaning or reason to why he wanted it done that way. And even if it's not a deeper meaning, it could be because he's been exposed to so many car crashes throughout his career that he would know what's real, what's not, how to set the stage, how to make it seem legit. Who really knows? Then comes a twist in all of this. The person that they thought they were hiring on the dark web as this hitman, like we have seen in so many cases, was actually an undercover cop. And that's really one of the only reasons that this murder never even happened, which, thank God, it's because law enforcement had already been involved from pretty much day one in stopping this plan before anything could actually ever be carried out. So the plan gets foiled. They realize who's behind it, what really happened, and Jack spoke out publicly for the first time on May 21st after Gabby and her father were arrested, saying that he's very relieved that Gabby's in custody and that their daughter Lavender is safe with him. He thanked law enforcement for their work on the investigation, and he also thanked fans for supporting him throughout everything that's happened. But as for where things stand right now, Gabby has officially been charged with attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and solicitation of murder. This according to the LA County District Attorney's Office. Her father Francisco and her now ex-boyfriend Kai are also facing the same felony charges. Now, since all this went down, Gabby has appeared in court, where a judge ordered that she cannot post about this case on social media. She also has to follow a protective order that prohibits contact with both Jack and her daughter, Lavender. Her bail was set at $2 million. She has since posted it under the conditions of GPS monitoring and surrendering her passport, and also that she can't post about it on social, which I get that social media is like a big thing these days, but the fact that a judge even has to say, like, hey, you can't post on social about this, I feel like that should be a no-brainer, but apparently it's not. So she has waived entering a plea until July 23rd, and we will see what happens there. But we know that this is going to probably have a very long digital trail. We'll see who flips on who. I would imagine the now scorned ex-boyfriend is going to flip on both of them and start, singing like a canary.
Oh, we're just full of things today.
Full of them. But I mean, thank God this didn't happen. Can you imagine that 7-year-old little girl and then that's why I'll say, and I know they're not together anymore, but just get a divorce and move on, because now you're pissed over custody, so much so that you're gonna off the co-parent, but now you're putting your child in a situation who you were so pissed about the custody arrangement for to be without any parent.
It makes no sense.
It's the most selfish thing you could possibly do.
I never understand
There's no logic.
that logic. Obviously, it's to punish the other parent.
Right.
But also, have we learned nothing? Why are we hiring Hitman off the dark web?
No, have we learned nothing? Or a bar. So, you look like you're hired up for $5,000. You want to kill my ass? What?
People are they really take the biggest risks, and I do not understand.
But it's because some people will take the payout. Remember, there was a case we covered not too long ago where the payout was, I think, $500 and somebody did it.
Yeah.
Which again, times are tough, but not enough.
No, I mean more the person hiring the Hitman.
Yeah.
At least for the, I don't know, none of it makes sense.
Get a grip. Get a grip. Honestly.
Get a grip.
Get a grip. We put that on a shirt.
Yes,
And also,
honestly.
new merch. A lot of people on the Kayla Hub episode this week, because I said in it, look guys, there's not a lot of information, there's minors involved, I'm not a detective, but I am nosy, and they're like, put that on merch. It is on merch, believe me.
We already have a shirt that says that.
But we'll update it on new merch for you. viral. But yeah, it is on merch. It is on merch.
All right. Well, this next one is one of the weirdest mysteries unfolding on
No,
right now.
it's so weird that I can't even follow it. So I need you to break it down
No,
for me.
I was like on a deep dive.
Yeah. I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't know. I don't understand.
I don't know.
I don't know. And I don't know. This girl is like so popular.
Well, there's another twist like every single day, so nobody can figure out what the hell's going
happening?
on.
Okay, hit us.
Well, it involved Katie Price and her husband, Lee Andrews. Now, if you're not familiar with Katie Price, she's a huge celebrity in the UK. She first became famous back in the late 90s and early 2000s as a glamour model, but over the years, she's basically become one of the biggest tabloid personalities in Britain. She's done reality TV, music, books, modeling, podcasts, honestly, just a little bit of everything, and her relationships and personal life have constantly made headlines over the years. And then there's Lee Andrews. Before their relationship, most people had never honestly even heard of her. Sorry, Lee, for catching a stray here.
There's Lee. Before, nobody ever heard of this.
Nobody knew this guy beforehand. So Lee presents himself online as a millionaire businessman living in Dubai, and after he and Katie got together earlier this year, their relationship moved very, very fast. Like, really fast. The two reportedly got married in January of 2026 after only knowing each other after a matter of days.
It's giving Nick Ritchie.
I was just going
And
to say
Shane
that,
Lamas.
Shane Lamas.
Yeah.
100%.
100%. Because didn't they meet in Vegas and they got married that same weekend?
Am I making this up with Travis Barker and Shannon Mokler? Or maybe I'm making that up. Sorry for the
I don't know.
rumors that I just made.
No, I don't know, but yeah.
Definitely
yeah.
Nick Ritchie.
Yeah.
Well, and from the beginning, people were already skeptical of the relationship, not only because of how quickly it happened, but also because Lee lives in Dubai, and despite being married, he still never actually came to the UK to meet with Katie in person after the wedding. So after the last couple of months, speculation has started building that maybe there's some kind of reason he can't travel, whether that was legal issues, financial problems, or some kind of travel restriction. Then on May 12th, that speculation picked up after Katie and Lee were both supposed to appear together on Good Morning Britain. And Katie made it to the interview, but Lee never showed up. Katie claimed that he had simply missed his flight, but after hearing Lee wouldn't be there, producers from the show reportedly contacted the Foreign Office and were told, quote, "We supported a British man who was detained in the UAE." And after hearing this, when the host asked Katie directly whether Lee had been arrested, she said no. According to her, she messaged Lee asking if he was the detained British man that they were talking about, and he allegedly sent back a voice note saying it wasn't him, along with laughing emojis.
Which, okay, fair, because if you
Right,
are
if there's
detained,
something
how are
so
you
outrageous.
sending a voice note?
Yes.
Right, okay.
Then later that same day, Lee uploaded a video to Instagram claiming he was at an airport in Oman and had only been delayed because he had, quote, "a couple of things to sort out first."
That feels like a red flag.
But almost immediately, as you would imagine, people started picking apart that video. Some people claim the airport in the background actually looked more like the Dubai airport than Oman. Others pointed out that it didn't even look that he had passed through security yet, and that questioned whether he was actually flying anywhere at all.
Like maybe he just parked and went into
And
the
just took
airport
some, like,
took a video?
footage for evidence, or an alibi, as you would say.
Wow. Okay.
Sometimes the messiest part of life is the schedule. When there's zero time, Ryobi brings home all the clean, from breakfast a la floor to pet hair, stains, and more. Anytime, anywhere, Ryobi cordless cleaning has the answer. So don't stress the mess. Ryobi. Only at the Home Depot.
Guys, welcome to the Black Catcher Show,
Uh.
one show for founders, execs, and entrepreneurs who are scaling their
For evidence, or an alibi, as you would say.
Wow. Okay.
And so that's where things really started getting strange. On May 13th, Lee's ex took to Instagram and warned Katie that he had allegedly done something very similar to her before. According to the ex, Lee had pretended he was flying out to visit her back in 2025, even posed with luggage and airport photos, sounds similar, and claimed he was on his way, and then actually never showed up. So now Lee would be stepping away from social media because of all the quote trolling and speculation surrounding their marriage. Again, covering for him is what it seems.
Yeah, not trolling, just questioning.
But then just 2 days later, the story took a massive turn. On May 16th, Katie uploaded a YouTube video claiming that Lee wasn't taking a social media break at all. He was actually missing. She said that she hadn't spoken to him in 3 days, that his shared location had disappeared on May 13th, and that none of her messages have been delivered since then. And then Katie made a claim that sent social media into a huge frenzy. She said that now she was wondering if Lee had been kidnapped.
From the airport?
I don't know.
From the fake airport?
Well, according to Katie, Dubai authorities were searching for him, but nobody could find any record showing he'd officially been detained anywhere in the country. She also claimed she briefly reached him through FaceTime and said that he appeared with ties around his hands and a hood over his head before allegedly telling her, "Look, they're coming back for me." And from there, the story just completely exploded online. Was Lee actually missing? Why couldn't Katie, his wife, get in touch with him? There was so much back and forth in the story about where he was that none of it made any sense. And by the next day, May 17th, Lee's family officially filed a missing persons report.
No, so his family couldn't get in touch with him either.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then on May 18th, reports started surfacing claiming Lee was actually staying in a slightly rundown villa and using a burner phone to communicate with only a small group of people. There were also reports claiming that Interpol was looking for him. Red flag.
Is this a movie?
No, I know.
What the hell?
Right?
Okay.
So Katie continued posting online saying that she hadn't heard from him, while more and more people started saying that the whole thing had to be fake or a hoax just to get attention.
From him or from her or from both?
Well, some people thought that Lee had staged his own disappearance. Others thought Katie was somehow involved, but the general idea was that people believed the whole thing was just this huge publicity stunt. Then another major twist came out involving what were allegedly Lee's final text messages to Katie. According to reports on May 14th, Lee allegedly texted Katie, quote, "Been arrested, I'll be in touch, I'm okay." He allegedly claimed authorities had taken his other phone and he was near a black site, which is a secret government facility, and reportedly told Katie to contact the British embassy before all communication stopped.
Well, hold on. Just going back to that date, the 14th is when she said he was taking a social media break. But that same day, he texted her saying, "Been arrested, I'll be in touch." So,
She was covering.
yeah, and it wasn't a social media break. He's been arrested. She's covering for him. But then a day later, whenever he has a hood over his head, and he's on a black site, which how would he know it's a black site? Only government officials knows what. Like, if you
I'm
took me
on
a
a
site,
secret.
I'm standing on nuclear waste right now. Like, what are you talking
And at this point, is Katie in on it?
No.
Because
We're confused here. My head is spinning.
Well. Over the weekend, there was another bizarre
Of course
twist.
there was.
People noticed Lee's Instagram account had followed somebody new, an American biker babe named Mari Soul. And this is pretty obvious because before this, he was only following Katie.
So when you're on a black site and there's no contact,
You can follow a biker babe.
Yeah, you can follow biker
But
babes.
you have access to that.
Okay, got it.
Well, apparently, Katie, like all of us women, was furious and confused by it.
Fair.
She hadn't heard from him in over a week, had been asking people for help on looking for him, and was really holding on to this idea that he wouldn't have faked his own disappearance. Then how would we, as we were wondering, how would he have followed this woman on Instagram if he was really missing, arrested, or didn't have his phone, or either phone for that
No,
matter?
and if he only had a burner phone, he's at a black site, he has a hood over his head, his hands are tied. Call the embassy, call the embassy. Hello, come on. You know what it's giving? What is that show that was on Netflix back in the early 2020s, and if people wanted the crossover of Anna Delvey and him? He's the scammer.
Oh, from Firefest.
No. The guy that was like the Dubai rich guy, but he had all these women sending him money and planes.
Not the Tinder swindler.
Yes,
Okay.
the Tinder swindler.
Actually, I was thinking Tinder swindler when I was looking at this case.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking too. Is like the elusive guy that's always gone
He's
rich. contacted him and that he was alive, safe, and under arrest in the UAE, but allegedly didn't know where he was being held or what charges he was facing. He also made it a point to say that Lee is not at his house, which some people say was really odd to be so specific about.
Well, yeah, if he's arrested and in custody, obviously it's not at his house, right?
Well, I think they're saying, like, did the dad make that up? What did he really contact him and say he was arrested? And he's trying to say, he's not at my house. Like, don't worry about that.
Oh, I thought he meant like at Lee's own house. Got it. Okay.
But Katie still hasn't heard from Lee. So at this point, honestly, nobody knows what's really going on or what's true anymore. Was Lee arrested? Did he fake his disappearance? Is he hiding from something? Does his family know more than what they're saying? Every update in the story obviously just keeps getting crazier and crazier. So my biggest question is, it sounds like Katie was duped and that she didn't know what was going on, but that she was also covering him in some incidences. So was she in denial then, or?
There's two things that I think are gonna crack this thing wide open. Okay. One, you don't marry somebody after only knowing them a couple of days, or
Really?
two, you're not going to Crime Con, you're going to Dubai, and I need you to investigate this. I need
I'm on the case.
boots on the ground. What the hell is
Like,
happening?
he's real and we're in love.
Oh my God, imagine. You're like, we're not
No,
married.
we cannot send Jess.
No, we cannot send Jess. Jess would be in
She'll
love.
defend him.
Yeah, because she, as she says,
She's like, the biker babe was just a decoy.
he's innocent. This is so is he like gone girling himself?
But also, like, if you're faking a disappearance, please stop your social media following.
Like, and what's the end game here? Is it because he's going to ask her for money because there's a ransom or a bail amount or something like that? Is it because he is such a coward he wants to break things off with her and like he's doing it in the most dramatic way possible? Like, what's the end game here? Who is this guy?
I think he's had a lot of probably dishonest stuff going on, and it was all about to come to a head. And when he was faced with going on Good Morning Britain and couldn't go to Britain, it all kind of backfired on him.
Yeah, and say he's done this before when he had his bags packed. So like, can he not travel anywhere? And like, but he goes into the airport lobby and takes these selfies and like TikToks of him jumping over the suitcase and ending up in a new
I was just
country.
gonna say, he's definitely not a social media guy. He doesn't even know how to properly take a photo that looks like you're in the airport you're staying at.
Yeah. Okay, look, I know
Yeah,
this isn't true
that's
crime, but I'm fascinated. I'm sad.
I'm going to Dubai.
No, I want to know what's going on here. If anybody else does, I know this isn't it's a mystery podcast, I guess. It's not like, because this isn't pop.
I'm gonna go ahead and end this here since we're pretty much done. I thank y'all for being here. I hope to see y'all again soon. Peace.